What's going on, Ravens flock? It's Mr. Yuri here, and got a new series going on here. And I think when it comes down to it, we look at a lot of things through the Ravens lens, and I think that there is an opportunity to offer a different perspective from an offseason standpoint and a an outlook on other teams this year. So, without further ado, we are going to start off here with the Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the three divisional teams that I'll be doing a series on, and then we'll be doing every team that we play this year. Videos will be dropping at least every Friday or Saturday or so, and we'll be going into what the team did in the off season, and as the season goes on, probably an injury report, and if there's any trades, etc. We'll definitely be diving into those. But super excited to start this. I like always appreciate the support, the likes, subscriptions, all the above. If you see this video, share it with somebody, because a lot of time and effort definitely went into this series, and I'm super excited to share with you guys. So, without further ado, let's go behind enemy lines with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, to recap their offseason, Ben Roethlisberger retired. Stephon Tuitt surprisingly retired. Juju Smith is gone to Kansas City. Joe Hayden is gone. No idea where he went. Trey Turner is gone. Joe Sherbert gone. And then they lost their defensive coordinator, Keith Butler. But in addition, they added Trubisky. They added Kenny Pickett. They added Miles Jack. They added Larry Ogunjobi. They added George Pickens. They added Levi Wallace. They added James Daniels, DeMonte KZ, and Brian Flores is brought in as an assistant from Miami, and then Terrell Austin is promoted within house as the defensive coordinator. So, all things considered, I think it's a net positive for the Steelers this offseason. Kenny Pickett Kenny Pickett, I think, was the safest floor quarterback in this class. He's looked pretty good in the preseason from all things that I've seen. And if I were the Steelers, I'd start him day one, but we'll get to that soon. But Larry Ogunjobi, you got like one of the best nose tackles in football in terms of generating pressure. He fails a physical with the Bears, and then floats around for a little bit in the Steelers. Pick him up, which is frustrating. You got George Pickens. All the preseason hype for him is valid. He's everything that was advertised in the draft, and a lot of people overthought him because of the ACL injury and such. So it is what it is. This is straightly from a Steelers point of view. There will be no Ravens talk. George Pickens versus Ojabo, who cares? And then Miles Jack, pretty good linebacker. Surprisingly, he got cut, but I think they had injury problems or something. And then besides that, not really much else to talk about. And very, very curious to see where this team is for the 2022 season. But first up, we have their depth chart, and the Steelers. I feel like for a while you expect them to go 6-10, or 6-11 now, 7-10, and they just end up being 9-8, 10-6, 10-7, or 11-6, and they end up in the playoffs. So it's really hard to see where this roster is going to be come week 17. But in all, I think it's a very solid roster. I do think it is the fourth roster in the division, in my opinion. I do think that T.J. Watt is the second best edge rusher in NFL football besides Myles Garrett, and I think there are a lot of question marks along the offensive line, and obviously the quarterback. So once again, we'll get into those, but I do think that they do have a good roster. It's not a bad roster at any means. I do think it's gonna the Steelers have had the Ravens number for a while. They've had a lot of numbers in our division for a while. So very, very curious to see where they end up, because there a lot of things could go right, and Kenny Pickett goes out there and balls out, and they're 11-6, or Kenny Pickett's not so great and they're 8-9. But let's get into the quarterback position battle. And obviously, I think I love the picture of Mason Rudolph, but I do think it's between Trubisky and Pickett. And if I'm Mike Tomlin, week one, and I'm trying to inject some energy in this team, I I just think it's Kenny Pickett's job to lose, in my opinion. I think you got to put him in there. Trubisky had a year to sit under Josh Allen and learn the Bills' offense, and I'm just not a fan of him. I just don't see the processing. I don't see, the mental part of the game, and his arm really isn't the greatest. So who knows? I'm just I just think that Kenny Two Gloves is the way to go here for the Steelers. And Mason Rudolph is far, far away from being a starter quarterback in this league. So all in all, this is a make or break thing for the Steelers season. I think if you get 24 touchdowns and 10 picks from Kenny Pickett, that's a good season in my opinion. And he's kind of like the Mac Jones ish style of quarterback, a lot more mobile than Mac Jones. But um, the thing is with Pickett is as long as you get solid play from him, this Steelers team could be battling around 10-7. I just think with Trubisky, it's like, what more are you going to see from him that Pickett doesn't offer? So, it, you know, if I'm a Steelers fan, I'm feeling cautiously optimistic about where Kenny Pickett is this season, and I would I would advise that they do not start Mitchell Trubisky. But Mike Tomlin knows more than me. So we're the next positional battle, and that is wide receiver 2/3. So they draft George Pickens in the second round, and they have Chase Claypool, who was drafted in 2020, and then the third person on the right there is Calvin Austin, who they also drafted this year. So the thing is with the whole positional battle thing, you have to think of like a future outlook. Okay, is Chase Claypool going to get out there and play a lot of reps, or are they going to put someone younger like George Pickens or Calvin Austin in there? And it's a very interesting discussion because the Steelers have always had good wide receivers depth wise, but um, you know, what's the point of playing 20? So Chase Claypool would be on the 30 of his contract at the end of this year, and he is not a first round pick. So after year four, he's gone. I do think that Chase Claypool could be a trade target this all season, and you got Deontay Johnson you just extended, and I I don't see a long term outlook for Chase Claypool in this football team, and that's kind of where I'm at. That's why I list this as a position battle because one, George Pickens has stood out in camp, and Calvin Austin has dealt with injury, but I do think that he comes in and earns himself some really good special teams reps, and maybe just maybe at the end of this year, and they do trade away Claypool. I think it's Deontay Johnson, Pickens, and Austin as their three, and I'm I think there's a lot of upside here for the Steelers wide receiver core. I think if you're a Steelers fan, you feel great where you're at for now and the future. And I do think that they've done a very very good job at constantly having good wide receivers in Pittsburgh. So that's all I got for that. It's going to be very interesting to see if George Pickens translates to the NFL, and if he does, it's going to be nasty. Just going to be nasty. But the last positional battle we got here is strong safety, and it's not really a positional battle. It's more of like, okay, who's going to get more playing time and snaps? And with both these guys are really similar. It's the box safeties. I think KZ has a little more range than Terrell Edmonds, but when it comes down to it, um, they did sign DeMonte KZ for a reason, and I think that they're going to put him out there a little bit more. I think they're going to play him a lot, and I do think that the Terrell Edmonds and DeMonte KZ are both free agents at the end of this year. So It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with them too. But I will say, I I wouldn't be shocked if they split snaps this year and they maybe come out in a three safety look with Pittsburgh and they get those guys out in the field because their cornerback group, which we'll come up to here in a second, is just it's not it's not pretty at all. And I think they can cover it up a little bit with more safeties on the field. So to jump into the big overview of kind of like the offseason and the strengths and weaknesses of this team. So obviously, Stephon Tuitt retires, and I do think that it's going to be a pretty big loss for like them losing Stephon Tuitt. They're going to have to replace. They're going to have to replace that. Like that, he was a very, very good defensive lineman for them, and they drafted Marvin Leal. They have Chris Wormley, and those are the two I could think that like maybe Larry Ogunjobi, maybe you ask him to play three tech a little bit, but I it's hard to replace somebody who had like 10 sacks plus consistently in his career. So that's a pretty big loss for them. And I wasn't the biggest fan of Leal coming out of the draft, but he did put on 20 pounds in the offseason. So maybe he is the answer there, or it's Chris Wormley, former Raven, or they have they do a different front look, and I doubt it though. The different front look is just I don't think they have the pieces, but at the same time they've been running 3-4 attack for like a while. So two, it's a big loss, and then they add Pickett and Trubisky. So once again, the quarterback room gets very interesting. Maybe they give Trubisky a few games. They get, hey, give us, give you 4 games, and then we'll reevaluate then. In my opinion, once again, I would just go pick with the starter and ride the highs and lows, because it's just you don't draft a 24-year-old quarterback unless you plan on starting him. So Trubisky, I'm just not a huge fan. Calvin Austin, George Pickens, those are the bell cow of their class this season, and I think by year's end, we're gonna be pretty angry that they did not end up in Baltimore. And I think that George Pickens establishes himself very early, no matter who's throwing him the football. I think these two players are going to be like next 6-7 years of Pittsburgh, just tormenting everybody because of how good they are. Calvin Austin, elite playmaker, and then George Pickens, number one potential. So very, very good ads from them. I think that's a strength. Their wide receiver core is going to be a strength, and I think that the Ravens and everybody else in the division should be wary of that. One of the weaknesses, though, O-line, their offensive line, I'm not very moved by it. It's like I would say like the 25th, 26th best group in the league. They have their tackle play. It's just like it's all okay. Like the whole offensive line is like okay. There's no like elite starter. They pick up James Daniels, who's just okay. He's good, but he's not like he has those problems too. So I'm not feeling too crazy about the offensive line. If I was a Steelers fan, I would be mildly concerned if a statue's in the pocket, but thankfully all the quarterbacks can kind of move. So their offensive line is just not crazy. It's not really strength to them. In the secondary play, obviously you have Minka Fitzpatrick, who's a very, very, very good safety, and you looked at that to be a very big strength of this team. But their cornerback room is not good. It's just not good. It's gonna be a weak point. That's why I suggested earlier they flood the field with 3 safeties and trying to cover up what they have at cornerback, because you have Cam Sutton, Killer Witherspoon, and they lost Joe Hayden, so there goes the veteran in the room. So I'm not feeling great about the secondary besides the safety play, and it could be something that teams exploit very easily. And final points, I think the biggest thing the Steelers did this offseason was They added a quarterback who they don't have to like commit to. Like this is like a pick 20 quarterback. It's not like you just traded up 3 first-round picks and sold your soul for him. So if they wanted to next draft, they could go out and trade up for C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, etc. I think their wide receiver core, once again, they solidified it. Miles Boykin made the 53-man roster apparently too, and I think that I don't know if they replaced Stephon Tuitt, but they sure have some bodies that can fill in for them. So pretty. I think if you're a Steelers fan, you're pretty optimistic about what this team can do this year and how you look forward to the years upcoming. I think the Steelers built for now and they built for later. So I'm pretty impressed with their offseason, in my opinion. I don't think they have the goods to win the division, but if you told me the Steelers are a wild card team in 2022, I wouldn't be surprised. And then we have their schedule prediction. So I have them going 9-8. I think that to go game by game at Cincinnati, I think they lose that. Home versus New England, I think they. Home versus New England, it's a coin toss in my opinion. It all depends on Kenny Pickett, but there's like it's not like a give me game. I would give that to them though, and then at Cleveland, I give that to them. New York Jets, I give that to them. Buffalo and Tampa are losses. At Miami, that's tough. You're going down to South Beach and Tua and all them, but I think when you look at it, they probably would win that game. And I actually, to put it frankly, I think 9-8 would be my over under. The over 9 wins under 8. So kind of ignore whatever. I just put everything on the right side of the screen. But I do think that they end up somewhere around the 9-8 record. And I would take the I don't know what the heck it's called in betting because I haven't bet in a while, but I'll take even. I'll go for 9-8. So there's a lot of tough games in there at Philadelphia, New Orleans, at Indianapolis, Las Vegas, at Baltimore there, the second to last game of the season. So all things considered, they do have a pretty rough schedule. I mean, Tampa, Buffalo, Indianapolis probably win the division. Las Vegas is up there. So it's going to be tough for this team to make the playoffs. And that's why I think they're coming in as my I don't want to get into the Browns, but they would be 3 or 4 in the division. I don't see their ceiling being any higher. And if 3 AFC spots go to the North, then so be it. But last thing, look ahead to the 2023 offseason for the Steelers. So there's you got Devin Bush up there. You got it's just a whole bunch of depth guys, really. A few guys that are Larry Ogunjobi. I would if I was Steelers, I would resign him. They got a lot of money next year. They got like $70 million. They're northwards of 50, so they have money next year to spend. It's just a lot of depth guys, and I think you go in the next offseason, you got a lot of money throw around. Smash whatever number one corner is out there. I would, if I were the Steelers, you got to get a cornerback in there that's really, really established number one, upcoming number one, high end number two, one of the above, and then you gotta do something to get a good offensive lineman in there. Quentin Nelson, man, he's gonna. If they can't get an extension with him in Indianapolis, you get him. Some sort of just mauling guard tackle that they can get in there. I feel like they have to do it, and then you reevaluate after this year with the whole quarterback situation, and if it isn't good, you move off Kenny Pickett very quickly. In today's league, it's all about what you can do now, what you can get now, and If Kenny Pickett does not go out there and show that he can at least be competent at the quarterback spot, just move. There's no reason to hold on to him. So that about does it for the Steelers. I think that all in all, they're once again, I try and keep it away from the Ravens perspective, but since these are division opponents, I'll probably do more on the Ravens perspective, excuse me. I do think the Steelers have had our number for a while, and this could be the year where we reverse that a little bit and split sweep, one of the two. I don't think we get on two for the Steelers this year. I just think that it's time for us to kind of take that back. So that about does it for the Steelers. Going behind enemy lines with them. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. If you see it on Twitter, retweet it, like it, quote tweet it, do whatever you have to do. But appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.